They survived alien wars, cosmic disasters, and the edge of the universe. By 2026, the Star Trek cast are no longer legends of the future, but fragile witnesses to time itself. William Shatner as Captain James T. Kirk. William Shatner was born on March 22, 1931, in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He was 35 years old when he took on the role of Captain James T. Kirk in Star Trek, 1966, becoming the face of one of television's most iconic science fiction heroes. Shatner rebuilt his career in stages, first through fan conventions and then with a major comeback as attorney Denny Crane on Boston Legal, which earned him an Emmy Award and renewed relevance in his 70s. In later years, Shatner has spoken openly about physical exhaustion, balance issues, and the quiet fear of cognitive decline that shadows many nonagenarians. In 1999, the death of his fourth wife, Noreen Kidd, continued to cast a long emotional shadow over his private life. In 2026, William Shatner is 95 years old. He remains mentally sharp, but physically limited, making occasional public appearances, writing and reflecting on a legacy that outlived the body that once carried it. Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock. Leonard Nimoy, born on March 26, 1931, in Boston, Massachusetts. He was 35 years old when he stepped into Star Trek, 1966, as Mr. Spock, a role that redefined science fiction television and permanently fused his identity with logic, restraint, and quiet intelligence. Determined not to vanish behind pointed ears, Nimoy rebuilt himself piece by piece. He found renewed respect through Mission Impossible, directing films such as Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, and delivering a chilling performance in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. A lifelong smoker, Nimoy was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a condition that steadily stole his breath and strength. On February 27, 2015, Nimoy passed away from complications of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, at his home in the Bel Air neighborhood of Los Angeles at the age of 83. DeForest Kelley as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. Born on January 20, 1920, in Atlanta, Georgia. DeForest Kelley was 46 years old when he joined Star Trek, 1966, as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy, the ship's chief medical officer and the emotional counterweight to Kirk's instinct and Spock's logic. Behind the scenes, his personal life remained notably private and stable, but the emotional toll of fading relevance was real. In the late 1990s, his health deteriorated rapidly. In 1997, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, a disease that progressed quietly and aggressively, draining his strength as he retreated fully from public life. DeForest Kelley died on June 11, 1999, at the age of 79, attended by his wife at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. Nichelle Nichols as Uhura. Nichelle Nichols was born on December 28, 1932, in Robbins, Illinois. She was 33 years old when she appeared in Star Trek, 1966, as Lieutenant Uhura, the communications officer whose presence quietly reshaped television history. In 2015, Nichols suffered a stroke that marked the beginning of a steep health decline. Reports from those close to her described episodes of memory loss consistent with dementia, forcing her gradual withdrawal from public life. Nichols died of heart failure in Silver City, New Mexico, on July 30, 2022, at the age of 89. James Doohan as Scotty. James Doohan, born on March 3, 1920, in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. He was 46 years old when he appeared in Star Trek, 1966, as Montgomery Scotty Scott, the chief engineer whose brilliance kept the Enterprise alive when logic and command failed. Doohan developed Parkinson's disease and later Alzheimer's, gradually retreating from public appearances as tremors, memory loss, and physical weakness overtook him. Doctors later linked his fatal condition to pulmonary fibrosis, believed to have been caused by exposure to toxic substances during World War II, a delayed consequence of survival itself. On July 20th, 2005, at 5:30 in the morning, Duhan died at his home in Redmond, Washington, due to complications of pulmonary fibrosis. Walter Koenig as Pavel Chekhov. Walter Koenig was born on September 14, 1936, in Chicago, Illinois. He was 30 years old when he joined Star Trek, 1967, as Pavel Chekhov, the youthful navigator created to attract a younger audience and inject fresh energy into the Enterprise. In 2018, Koenig's son, Andrew Koenig, died by suicide at the age of 41 after years of struggling with severe mental illness. The loss shattered Koenig publicly and privately. He spoke openly about grief, guilt, and the painful reality of watching a loved one lose a battle that fame and love could not save. By 2026, at age 90, Walter Koenig lives quietly while continuing to speak out for mental health awareness, honoring a legacy shaped by resilience and personal loss. Grace Lee Whitney as Yeoman Rand. Grace Lee Whitney, born on April 1, 1930, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She was 36 years old when she appeared in Star Trek, 1966, as Yeoman Janice Rand, a prominent early female presence aboard the Enterprise. The cycle persisted, compounded by unstable relationships and a second marriage that ended in divorce in the early 1980s, triggering a renewed descent into substance abuse. Roles diminished, finances strained, and health weakened as years of addiction exacted their price. Grace Lee Whitney died of natural causes at her home in Coarse Gold, California, on May 1, 2015. She was 85 years old, leaving behind a story that exposed the fragile reality behind early television stardom. Mark Lenard as Sarek, born on October 15, 1924, in Chicago, Illinois. Mark Lenard was 42 years old when he appeared in Star Trek, 1967, as Sarek, the stern Vulcan ambassador and father of Spock, a role that would quietly define his legacy. Lenard worked steadily, but never ascended beyond respected supporting roles, carrying prestige without celebrity. As the years advanced, his health began to fail quietly. In the early 1990s, Lenard was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a form of blood cancer that slowly weakens the immune system and bones. Mark Lenard died at the age of 72 on November 22, 1996, in New York City, after a battle with multiple myeloma. Gene Roddenberry as creator. Gene Roddenberry, born on August 19, 1921, in El Paso, Texas. He was 45 years old when Star Trek premiered in 1966, stepping not in front of the camera, but into history as the architect of a future built on reason, diversity, and fragile hope. A lifetime of stress, combined with heart disease and multiple strokes, left him physically weakened. By the late 1980s, dementia-like symptoms emerged. Gene Roddenberry died on October 24, 1991, at the age of 70. The cause of death was complications related to heart disease following strokes. Time carried the Star Trek cast farther than any starship ever could. Their bodies weakened, their minds dimmed, and one by one, the future they imagined became a memory. Which journey affected you the most? Leave a comment and follow for more untold Hollywood stories.